Morning, this is David B69, and welcome to something different today. I'm going to walk through all the baseball games I currently own in my collection. Um, just wanted to do a quick little overthrough, and just basically show every single game that I own currently right now. Now, the things that won't be exciting are kind of cool. Um, we of course we're going to go from modern to back because, well, honestly, got MLB Show 21, which is a cool game. Great, really fun, a lot of fun and everything. You can see my current live streams on it. MLB Show 20, and then we got the show 19. Again, it's like I have no pictures on. They don't show any pictures on these versions. Like I said, if you wanted to see it, you can just check out some of my live streams. Just do a search for David B69 or look at my channel, and you can see a lot of these from the past. Again, this is MLB The Show 17. Um, again, because I buy the collectors for most of these, they don't. It doesn't really have much, and this one actually had this slipcover actually had stuff, but it's like if you just if somebody threw it away and you were buying it used, you might just see that. Sometimes the slipcovers just disappear in the nothingness. Um, this was a kind of cool one. This is from the first year, 2006 to 2015. Just kind of cool. I really like the. It looks like a wood. It looks like a wood bat kind of thing. So I really like that. And then we have the standard look for MLB 14. Um, like I said, I have some imagery there. So it's just kind of cool. That's the PS4 collection part. Like I said, you really just since you go since you go that area and everything in that direction, there's really not much to show. My PS3 collection, which is I have the complete PS3 collection. Um, I'm starting with 15. Um, so 15. That will be the show. This is 14. Um, there's just nothing in my face. There's nothing spectacular, different in a lot of these games. What happened was during the PS3, PS4 era, what they've improved on a lot. They added some things like the move support, which allow you to pretty much use the moves to like play home run derby and stuff. But I've always been my controls and stuff. I've always been with the analog stick for pitching and button push for batting. It just it was what's called. Um, some people use the guess pitch. I don't like that. I think it's stupid. Um, if you want to be able to know if you're going to say I'm looking for a certain pitch, well, look for a certain pitch and look for the certain zone. You don't need to get special bonuses because you made a guess. Um, it's like if you do your timing and do everything properly, you would be able to bat fine. So, um, and I'm just going backwards. I'm not saying every single title. I mean, I'm showing you every single title and the cover art and stuff. So I figured that is good enough. It helps keeps things moving. Um, good old Ryan Howard. Like I said, the graphics were top notch. I think the physics got really good, and on the PS4, and It's steadily improved through the years. Um, but when it got to, and I'll discuss that in a second. When it got to the end of the PS3 era, um, is when it got really sad because Sony had the only license for it. And it's like there's RBI baseball that's currently out, but do you really want to say RBI baseball is a baseball game? Because I really don't. I don't think it's really a baseball game. So, because it's just an arcadey game, and I'm never a huge fan of just the RBI games. So anyway, well, this was the collector's edition that merges, not a collector's, but a signature edition that merges the two 2K games together. This is the basically last baseball game. Um, the shame of this series, the 2K series, is the last couple games were mired in bugs. There was just, well, number one, you could easily get too many home runs in this game. Um, the overall game was like really good. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Um, it just it wasn't true to baseball, sort of baseball simmers. If you like to simulate games, um, it really wasn't that great. And it was actually kind of funny. This 2K11, if you ever play MLB The Show 11, they'll kind of take shots. The announcers and stuff and everything will take shots at when Roy Halladay's playing, uh, because he's the cover athlete on the other game. Um, it was kind of fun. So I really got a big kick out of it. It's 2K10. The graphics and stuff were really tremendous, and the presentation was tremendous on the 2K versions of the game. I really got a kick out of the 2K variant. 2K variant was a lot of the game's a lot of fun, and it just it looked and felt really good. This was a kind of a different version of the game. This is Front Office Manager for 2K. It's like if you ever played the NFL Head Coach series, it's a lot like that. It's just kind of awkward to have it. It's like this is something you would expect on a PC, but they basically made it for a console, and it's just one of those kind of cool, weird, different kind of games. So this is actually kind of cool because the it was what's it called? I just saw this the other day in my son's room, and the son's graduated high school and he's ready packing up to go to college next month. Um, and we saw the Reyes bobblehead in his room, and that came from this 2K8 game. So, um, here's that will be 2K7. I think that's Derek Jeter, yeah. So, and that's like the beginning of the 2K series on there. And I got one final game for baseball on the PS3, and this is the Professional Baseball Spirit Spore, and I got this from Japan. Um, it's like the Japanese baseball. It was it was from Konami. Konami, same people who made Metal Gear and stuff. But the baseball was like really sharp. Um, I would say that graphically it was better than 2K. Um, and it's even physics wise, it probably was like better than the PS3 version of MLB The Show at that time. I don't know if it's still that way. I haven't really bought one of the professional baseball league series in a long time. That was back in 2007, so that was quite a while ago. Um, and now some of these games you'll notice and stuff. I have some duplicates. So when I say I have duplicates, I have duplicates. This is the 360 variants. You can see 2K13. And remember, I had this game was the one I had with NBA on PS3. Well, and for 12, I had the combo pack on the 360 version. So, this, and it was always like late in the 2K thing. They were always advertising. They always wanted to advertise the perfection because they wanted you to get if you got a perfect game, you basically get a reward. Um, these things are in bags and stuff and everything because I never use them. And since I never use them, I keep them sealed. Not that they're new or anything, but they do work. I've opened these bags before. The bags reseal. Just try to keep them in as nice condition as possible. Now this game came out only on the 360. It was not on the PS3. I believe 2K6. So it was it was a fun game, but it's like not. It's not as like tough as some of the other stuff. So it's one of those kind of games and stuff and everything. It's like it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't as tough. So let's see here. Let's go back here, and we're going to go. Now some of this stuff and everything, it's like we're gonna go back down to the PS2. Um, let's do this. Okay, so here on the PS2 is 2K9. Now, like I said, these are PS2 versions of the game. Graphically, it's a little bit less. Gameplay wise, they're pretty close to feeling like the same kind of baseball game. I mean, that's what always amazed me is you play some of these games on the PS2. I mean, it was a jump up from the one level to the next, but to me, it pretty much felt like the same game. They really did do a good job with it. So, and here's 2K5, the PS2. And of course, one of my favorite editions was the World Series edition of 2K5. And that includes the World Series great moments as well as the game disc. So it was just kind of cool. It was the World Series edition. Had a few extra modes that the other version of 2K5 did not have. So yeah, it's just cool. And here is 2K4. which basically they weren't calling it Major League Baseball 2K4. This was ESPN, I believe. This was the last year they had the ESPN mantra. So, and it's like they kept it pretty much for 1 year. And here is 2K3, aka World Series Baseball 2K3. This was the last World Series game, pretty much from Sega. And basically, you can see ESPN right there on the bottom. So, really great game. I really love the series a lot. And then let's see here. Let's go with these. Pretty much we go on forever here. Triple Play Baseball. Triple Play 2002. These are like obviously EA games. MVP 2005. Like I said, I never didn't order these too much. MVP 2004. And I apologize, I didn't really show you the back of 2005 and 2004. And you just feel free to pause if you need to pause. And anybody that really wants me to, I mean, I've done it before where I've gone through and I've played some games on going through the consoles. If you want me to do that again, I have no problem doing it. I really wouldn't mind going back and playing because I didn't play all these games on a stream. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Would people want to see that again? It would kind of give a fresh new look at it. It might be actually a lot of fun for me to go back and play some of these games again. This is one of my favorite series of all time. Actually, if I wanted to do any kind of like long-term series for an old game, it would be like something from the MLB Power Pros. It's like tremendous games. They have like all the major league stadiums and stuff in them. It's a lot of fun. Really, they don't take themselves seriously, and it was made. It's like the second version was made by 2K, and the first one was made by 2K. So they both were made by 2K. So it was a lot of fun. Another one of my favorite series was All-Star Baseball. This was like a really fun game. I like the reticle where you can bend, and when you swing, just basically doing a regular push button to swing, but you were able to tilt your hitting cursor, and it would just basically curve and go where you tell it to where you're swinging to. So if you wanted to go opposite field, you just tilt it and it will go opposite field. And so it was like really cool. And what was a lot of fun was they had like so many players to unlock every year. And it was just a lot of fun to go and play day after day in a season and just unlock all these players, and they can unlock in the free agency, and you can just have a lot of fun and like bring Mike Schmidt and Babe Ruth and put them on your squad. So just kind of cool. So just that kind of stuff is fun. And then we have let's see here. Got MLB 2004. Now this is the 989 variant. Okay? This was 989. This was not San Diego Studios. This was what San Diego Studios pretty much became. But it was actually kind of funny back in the day where it was 989 Studios. And they just did things a little differently. Now the fun part here is like this game is 2005. This is actually the 2006 season, I think. Or no, was it? I forget. No, it wasn't. It was the same year. And here is MLB. Await the show. But like I said, this is the PS2 variant. The greatest thing about the PlayStation 2 era was they had so many of the next gen games, and they basically kept them going and stuff. So it was like really a lot of fun. But like I said, if you want to see gameplay, I can. Like I said, I have no problem going back and playing these games. And I'm really sorry if I go through some of these really quickly. Now this was cool. MLB 06 the show. And you can see this was made by Sony. This was the first version of the show. I just thought it was like really cool. I always liked it was their first try at MLB the Show, which is basically the show is pretty much introduces basically putting a player and have him go through a career and stuff. It was just really, really cool. I don't think they actually had the actual show mode until it might have been 7 or 8. Pretty sure all new Road to the Show was 2007. So Road to the Show, they called it the show, but it wasn't the Road to the Show did not exist until 2007 that we all know today. Now this is actually kind of cool though. Okay. Now of course, 2000 MLB the Show 06. Okay. You can see MLB 06. This is when they changed the name to the show, and it's by Sony. Now, the next year, in the same year, okay, they had MLB 06 made by 989. Okay, this was the last 989 iteration. The MLB The Show was made by San Diego Studios. What's it titled on top? Welcome to the Show. So it's pretty much it's like the same game, except that it's like some of its innards are a little bit different. So it's just kind of intriguing to me that they made 2 baseball games that year. Here's Curt Schilling in High Heat Baseball 2004. I always loved and respected Curt Schilling. He was a great pitcher for Phillies back in the day. Pitched for Houston, Philly, Boston, and Arizona. Taking Houston and Arizona and Boston to the World Series. Didn't really do it for us, but it is what it is. 3DO. He got us to a World Series, and we had the Wild Thing blowing it. Not Wild Thing. The Wild Thing. He blew it and stuff for us. Gave up that home run that gave them winning World Series. So it was a real shame. He was a good closer. He was being used so much that he basically couldn't do it anymore. I love this version of 2012 and 2002 of High Heat Baseball. Just for the fact of having an Expo in the cover. I'm not sure if is that Guerrero. I'm not even sure who that is. It's been so long. It's like 19 years ago. I don't exactly remember the cover athlete name. And I'm showing you the thing, but of course, I think it reverses the I think it reverses the text, so it makes it more of a challenge to read, which I apologize. Not much I can do about it. Um, I'm going to show you some other stuff here. Um, this is the GameCube's versions. It's 2002. Here is 2003. What's There's slight difference in the graphics and a little uptick. I think the Xbox was the best version. Now the cool part about this one is inside there's baseball playing cards. Now it's like this is the same game that I got new in box back in the day, and still have the playing cards today. So it's just like one of those really cool things that you just collect. You don't ever open that kind of stuff. I just think that's like really, really cool. All Star Baseball 2004. And like I said, all the All Star Baseball games to me were tremendous. Um, other games like 2K, MVP 2005, they were really cool because graphically the players, like the shape of the shoulders and the actual movement, I believe EA had that portion down the best. They were incredible, and they did a great job with that. But as part of like other parts of the baseball game, like physics and stuff, it wasn't always perfect. It was a lot like 2K in the end. Um, it's like, but MVP was a little bit better than what 2K was back then. So, and of course, this is Mario Superstar Baseball. Tremendous game. I mean, if you ever just wanted to goof off and enjoy a nice, fun baseball game, Mario Superstar Baseball was that game. This was tremendous. It was like obviously all cartoon and Mario ish, but it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just fun. It just sometimes some things just I need to have fun. And of course, I skipped an era. I skipped the Wii era, and I apologize. In the Wii era, we also had 2K12. I didn't. This game I've never even opened. It's new and sealed still. Um, so, I mean, if you look carefully, you can still see the seal. Um, there's like a lot of the Wii games. You can pretty much do the same kind of swing mechanics, and of course, we have Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii. Difference is the motion controls. Not a big fan of motion controls, but it was fine. I believe you can use a button. You were using buttons too. I'm not really sure. I don't remember completely, but it was a lot of fun back then. Um, and we have Little League World Series Baseball 2008. Um, it was made by Activision. So yeah, it was a fun little baseball game. And next up, we have MLB The Power Pros 2008 on the Wii. And MLB Power Pros on the Wii. These versions on the Wii were like really, really good. I prefer the probably PS2 versions. but it's nice to have all the different variants. I think it's a lot more fun to own all the variants of the different games and being able to compare and contrast. Um, Speaking of comparing and contrasting, we have the Xbox versions of MVP Baseball 2005. Yes, I owned 3 copies of MVP Baseball 2005. It was that good of a game, and it's actually kind of fun to compare the different games. And of course, there's MVP Baseball. That's NCAA Baseball, 2006, just with aluminum bats and college baseball teams instead of major leaguers. It was the same great fun, but it was with the like I said, with a lot of pinging and that kind of fun. You gotta try to get too close and you lose control of the game. That's what's gonna happen. Is 2K6, and hey, showed you this version of the World Series 2K5. Again, same great insert, and it has both the World Series disc and the gameplay disc. So I really get a kick out of that series, and of course I have the regular 2K5 as well. So it's a lot of fun. Now this is the only Microsoft had their own thing, or what was it? I forget what they called themselves. I think it's the XSN. Um, it's the Xbox Sports Network. But it was like really tremendous, and it was a lot of fun. And I was like really sad that they didn't continue this. Some of the series they actually like made a couple games, but they only made one baseball version. And it's really a shame because this version of baseball was a lot of fun, but there was a lot of licensing headaches and other things that were going on in the background. That sadly basically just people weren't. It's like baseball was getting in a big hubbub, and you can see by all the games that I had and the different variants back on the PS2 era, they needed to slim it down because honestly the market was oversaturated with baseball games. There was just too many baseball games. You have two competitors, that's one thing. You like get two competitors fighting over something, that's one thing. But if you have too many variants, it basically oversaturates things. And sadly, that's what I feel happened in that era. Um, so that's where we are there. Um, we're going to go next to, let's see, it's always a good question of what era to go first in. I'm going to go to the era that I think is one of the most fun. This is the Sega Saturn games. 3D Baseball. Now, I have different variants of these games as well. This is the Saturn version of 3D Baseball. Now, the Saturn was out during the same time as like PS1. But the interesting part of this was there was no EA to compete with. So it was a different world. But I mean, and World Series baseball was honestly the bomb. It was the greatest. It was the greatest baseball game out there, in my opinion. This was my go-to version of baseball back in the day. You could not get me off of this. I could probably still go back today and play one of these games and play an entire season, and I wouldn't mind because it was just a lot of fun. So these games were like so much fun back in the day. Now, this original World Series baseball wasn't as deep as the other ones. I mean, 2 and 98 were tremendous. This was a solid title, but this was their first go on the Saturn. So I wouldn't call this one the tremendous one. Graphically, it was like really top, but gameplay wise, not so much. And then here is bottom of the ninth. It's MLB Players Edition version of baseball, so there was no teams, no team names, but cities, which is fine. It was something that happened a lot in sports games back in the day, and it was perfectly fine. Just different. Next up, we're going to go with the Nintendo 64 variants here. Yeah, they're versions of baseball games. A lot of these are kart games, like Piazza Strike Zone. Here's a familiar one, the bottom of the ninth. Like I said, these are in the same era. All-Star Baseball 1999, 2099. That's really good. And Triple Play 2000. And then we have completes of All-Star Baseball 2000. And it's like I love the box art back in the day for these games. Nintendo really knew its box art. It was like always it was always fun and like really cool. Here's All-Star Baseball 2001. Acclaim did a really good job baseball back then. Was it as good as the next gen version of the baseball games? No, it's not even close. But this was like a really solid step, and these games were fun. So I really enjoyed them. Speaking of a lot of fun, I showed you before the Japanese version of baseball on from Konami. This is the N64 variant, except that they pretty much went Power Pros mode. This is the, I think it's Yokohama, the baseball, this is number 4 variant. I don't know what the actual name of the baseball series is. I probably could have spent time and translated it. I just didn't feel like it. But Konami made this baseball games. This was, like I said, this was variant number 4 on the Nintendo 64. If you know what the title is, please let us know in the comments below. I really wouldn't mind. These games are tremendously fun. Every one of these variants on the Nintendo 64 are playable and complete. Only sadness is I don't read Japanese. I generally have to have my phone out and I translate some of the stuff in order to figure out what it is so I can go through the menus properly. But they're like a lot of fun baseball games. And I have no problem going through and playing games like this on a stream. I mean, I wouldn't mind like playing like one game of each one, if that's what people want. I mean, it has to be enough people to be able to spend that kind of time and that kind of effort. Because honestly, just gathering all these took time and effort. Here's the PS1 version era. Frank Thomas Big Hurt Baseball on the PS1. These are long box variants. Triple Play 97. Okay, and here's All-Star 97. Bottom of the ninth, 97. I mean, the graphics were good enough and everything to be able to play a good baseball game. I mean, but this was the era where it was like in between, and some of these games were looking really good, but they had like little issues where they were stuttering, and it basically it took out of the immersion. That's what one of the things on the PS2 and PS3 era, where the immersion was kind of lost because they were trying to rock the look of the players and stuff, but the hardware couldn't handle it as well, which kind of like made things a little bit hard for them. It's High Heat 2000. No, like I said, it's like if you read this here, it basically had this is basically for the 1999 season. So some of these games, they use the year that they listed is not the actual year that you're actually playing. Even though in most of these games, you could play multiple seasons and have franchises. Some of them you didn't, but most of them in these eras you did. You couldn't go. You couldn't go incredibly deep, but you can go. I mean, and this was the 989 variant back in the day. I think it was 989 basically made this one. I know it was made by Sony, but yeah. 99. They just didn't have 99 on the cover back then. I know that 99 Studios, I thought, made all those games, but that one, it didn't have the list. Maybe they just weren't advertising their studio as hard, or I don't know. Maybe could be something that I'm just missing in the winds. I mean, that wouldn't shock me. I mean, there's always things that I could learn every day. Played all these games back in the day, but sometimes history can get kind of muffled and lost, which is kind of a shame, but it's kind of the things that happen. Okay. That will be 2003 with the cheater on the cover. It'll be 2004. Interplay Sports 2000. Now, this is a game I don't think I've ever played. I just recently got this game. Speaking of fun, goofy, and different, this is Sammy Sosa's Softball Slam. Yes, softball. Sometimes you got a different baseball variant and it just plays like a different type of game. Triple Play 99. I mean, softball is pretty much baseball. It's just with a bigger ball. I have more respect sometimes for some of the people that play softball. This was this is MLBPA pretty much. MLB pennant race baseball. A lot of fun. This was the, I think, first version of baseball for the first made by Sony. This is the last PS1 version of baseball on the PS1. Ironically, this was right before the PS3 came out. I mean, talk about how long the PlayStation had games coming out for it. Basically, it came out until PS3 came out. I mean, that was just incredible how long it lasted. And I mean, yeah, but there's also same things happen with the PS2 era. Basically there was games coming out for that until pretty much the PlayStation 4 came out, which is just absolutely insane. Now PS3 didn't go as long; they only went a couple years after, um, but I think it's because they realized that people just weren't buying it. Now the PS5 and everything, it actually they might make more PS4 games than any other series combined because people have such a hard time getting the new variants of PS5 and Xbox Series X's. Um, Even though I can actually say and everything that they've done the right thing with the next gen. It really is next gen. It really is tremendous graphically. Um, Here is Grand Slam. Made by Virgin. And here is Big League Slugger Baseball. How do you know the graphics are really crappy? Look how small they put the pictures on there. They know that their graphics are really just not that great. Gameplay wise, decent, fun game. But graphically, not so much. And here is the 3D baseball variant on the PS1. Showed you this on the Sega Saturn. They have less things. Now the cool part about this disc is this was basically a Blockbuster rental disc, all the way down to the disc having the Blockbuster label on it. So I just think that's kind of cool. And here's VR Baseball 99. I think there's a VR Baseball 97 as well. I do not have that. I only have the 99 variant. It's part of the things I'm searching for. I think I have there's 3 baseball games that I'm missing on the PS1. And it's like we're really close on all the other ones. I'm pretty sure I got most of them for all of them, but it is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to pause for a minute and we'll continue this in a little while with some of the other versions. But you won't notice a thing because I'm just going to blink and you'll see the next game. Okay, we've reached the creme de la creme, the most awesomest of baseball games and one of my favorite eras of baseball games. Up next is the Sega Genesis era. Sega Genesis made some tremendous games. Um, First and foremost, it's one of the coolest ones was Tommy Lasorda Baseball. This, of course, is a classic version, but a tremendous baseball game. A lot of fun. The coolest part was just how much graphics they could squeeze into the Genesis, and it really popped on this version. So that was really cool. Another game that was pretty cool was ESPN Baseball Tonight on the Sega Genesis. They made a version on the Sega CD. Fortunately, I don't have it. I looked to see if I actually had it, but I don't have it. I have the football ESPN one, but I do not have the baseball one. I'm hunting for it. It's out there. I just gotta find it. Next up is RBI 3 baseball. Like I said, I don't put any of these in actual order. So you might scream at me and everything for some of the orders that I have these games in. I'm honestly, I grabbed a lot of these off the shelf, and I'm basically just doing it randomly. Here it is, RBI 4. Again, really a lot of fun. I mean, basically, they had a lot of these things had battery saves, and you basically can pretty much play a season. So, and that's basically as far as you really went on the cartridge games. Because you really couldn't save that far and go that far. RBI Baseball 94. Now, this is going to the level of the next gen, pretty close. But it's basically pushing the limits of where they were technologically on the Sega Genesis. But as you know, a lot of people were making games all the way through the, what was it, 1998, they were making games. So 97, 98, somewhere in that vicinity. I know they made Madden, NHL, they made those 98 games. But like Saturn and stuff and everything were all being made still, and those games were being made. So it's hard to say. I don't know. After the 98 variants, EA and stuff stopped making all sports games and all games and stuff for Sega Saturn, and they never made anything for the Dreamcast. Um, this one, I'm in complex mode on. I don't know if it's actually a new and broken seal or what. This is Tecmo Super Baseball. You can see here that I have a seal throughout. It's just a little bit broken at spots. But it definitely has a seal. Probably at one point I am going to break this seal because, like I said, it's not a like super valuable game, so it's like I don't really feel like I'd lose any sleep over it. Here's Frank Thomas Big Hurt Baseball. It says a collector's edition Donruss trading card is enclosed. I am guessing no. Let's see. I have the instruction manual. I do have a poster. I have a poster from Acclaim. I mean, doesn't that count? What's in the poster? I'm trying to unfold the poster. Yeah. So, it's a poster. Is it a fancy poster? No, but it's a poster. I always like posters. But no baseball card. I mean, I imagine back in those days, the baseball card collection was at its peak. Our Roger Clemens MVP baseball. This is MVP baseball before the MVP baseballs, obviously. Basically beating it by like almost 10 years. Here is Cal Ripken Jr. baseball. When I first saw this box, I didn't have this in the original. When I first saw this box, I was thinking to myself, and you just basically look at the artwork. You see the whiteness of it. The first thing you'll think of, and you'll know what I'm talking about when I get to it. You're thinking of MVP and the MVP baseball, the triple play baseballs, because of the white cases. The white cases was very famous with EA back in that genre. A lot of the sports games had white. Like you can see it. You see games like Madden and stuff, and NHL and live. You can see the white cases up there. You'll be able to see my point. Next up is Sports Talk Baseball. This was Sega Spain franchise. It was just really cool because play by play was not a thing back then. So the fact that you had play by play, I mean, it got far behind most of the time. So even when they were doing play by play, you were like seconds behind the action pretty much all the time, and you pretty much had to wait for it. Otherwise, it just feels wrong and stupid. Next up, this was like just a crazy craze. Super Baseball 2020. Obviously, this game wasn't made in 2020. It's just basically they're trying to depict it as the future of baseball, and this is how baseball will look in the future. It's going to be take two. For something happened on my first take where the camera app on my phone actually crashed, and I'm like really thrilled that I was able. I basically paused at certain points because it would have been really annoying if I had to do this entire thing over again. Um, I am currently at the Sega Genesis version, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing this the exact same way as I did it the first time. This is Tommy Lasorda Baseball, the classic on the Sega Genesis. Um, it's like a lot of in the American variants, games like Tommy Lasorda Baseball, um, Pat, what was it Pat? The best Pat Riley Basketball. Um, a lot of those games were basically the huge staples of the Genesis Does campaign. Because Genesis does what Nintendo um, was part of that whole craze. There's ESPN Baseball Tonight. I said before, and I'll say it again. This is made by Sony, and it was back in the era where Sony and Nintendo were actually in conversations of doing some collaboration together. It did not actually happen. They got as far as making a system together, but they never released it together. So Nintendo mysteriously went to the era of cartridges on the Nintendo 64, which in retrospect it wasn't a bad thing. Historically, the carts are going to last a little bit longer than CDs will. So I like the chances of the carts surviving a little longer. Just basically showing off the RBI variants. I mean, the RBI variants are very solid. They're good. It's a good baseball series. You'll find that there are a lot of fun. I mean, none of the RBI baseball games basically stand out to me as a AAA title, but none of them are really bad. Now this next one is Tecmo Super Baseball. You might find something different. You see some of the plastic sticking out. This is new. This is a brand new copy of Tecmo Super Baseball. The only difference is the plastic is just because it's gotten so old over time that it's just kind of beaten up to a point where it's all worn out. So, yeah, this game has taken a beating of time. So, I'm probably going to open that sooner rather than later. Um, I mean, there's no point in just keeping it around to collect dust and just sit there. I'll probably wind up opening that. I'm willing to open every single baseball game that I have and playing them because the actual value of the actual games is not that great. This is, of course, Frank Thomas Baseball. I have the instructions. Don't have the Donruss card. Um, I'm showing you the baseball cards that I got with the All Star Baseball 2003 on the GameCube. I believe they came out on the other systems as well, but I only bought the GameCube version, so that's the only version I actually have that has the baseball cards. Because I imagine everybody else kept their own baseball cards. Here's Roger Clemens MVP baseball. This was MVP baseball before EA took over and made the baseball games. This is Cal Ripken baseball. Well, it's Cal Ripken Junior baseball. I apologize. It always makes me think, if you just look at this part, you're thinking to yourself, "Hey, that's an EA title," because of the white background, which is it was traditional for games and stuff and everything made by EA. Like for example, um, like the Mario and Dread Racing. It's like you can see it's an EA game, and it's all white. So that's the way EA did their sports games. Hockey, basketball, football, all were the same way on the on on the Genesis. I know even see the baseball is like that as well. Sports Talk Baseball. This was famous for being the sound being so far behind of your play-by-play. It always tried the best to keep up, but it wasn't perfect. But it's a lot. It was a lot of fun game. Speaking of a fun game, by EA Sports Electronic Arts, is Super Baseball 2020. They took you to the future, which is now the past. Um, I actually have this, I think, on the PS4 as well, just to play, just as a throwback. Um, it's like really a lot of fun. It's just a fun, goofy baseball game, and it's a different variant to play baseball. Speaking of different, this is Hardball on the Genesis. Um, just a box game instead of having your typical ones where you're like opening up like that. It's basically like a box where you're pretty much opening it up, and you got your manual inside, and then your game. So it's always cool. It's a pretty cool variant of box work and stuff. That's the way they did it. It's like they did the same thing with Hardball 3. And it's like, and Al Michaels did the play-by-play on this one, and you can see it's like you open the box. It's just not. It was actually just pretty cool. Then they decided to say, "Hey, we're just going to go back to your traditional cases." I believe this was just an MLB PA game because it says slug it out with the MLB PA stars. So I imagine it was all just that way. Again, Players Association only, Hardball 95. A lot of the games and stuff were without the players. I mean, without the MLB. It was just easier to get the Players Association to sign on, and just use their names and likenesses. Um, and the actual Major League Baseball didn't get anything. And that was until like this kind of game. World Series Baseball for Sega. What was really cool is that they had all the ballparks. No, this one did not have all the ballparks. This had all the teams. And it was like just really cool. Had all the teams, players. It was a really World Series Baseball to me. It has always been a favorite, and that was the only variant on the Sega Genesis that was in the hard box. So it's like every other box you can see like kind of took a beating. This is World Series Baseball '95. crazy thing about this is I had World Series Baseball 95 on the 32X back in the day. I wound up selling it because I got several $100s for it. I just, to me, it's not worth that kind of money. But to other people, it was. So I said sayonara to the game because it's like, in my opinion, it's not, it, the value that people wanted for it was way higher than I thought the value of the game was. So that's how I determine whether I collect stuff or get rid of stuff. If the value is way too high, that way over the market of what I think it should be, generally I feel that there is times that you basically you say your sad goodbyes to it. This is World Series Baseball '96. Tremendous game, like really solid baseball game. I said, on the Genesis, I own every single baseball game that they have on the Sega Genesis. Not the 32X because, like I said, I sold the well, that game. So I obviously don't have that, but the main variant, the Genesis, I have every single game. This is World Series Baseball '98. Really solid title. Lots of fun. A little bit better obviously on the Saturn. Saturn versions of these games are like much better graphically and performance wise. Next up is Tony La Russa Baseball. This was an EASN game. Basically, it was only Players Association. It wasn't the full MLB license, but it was absolutely fantastic. And basically, it's really thick, um, and it had all these like player cards, well, team cards. It was made by the Stats Incorporated, I think it was, or yes. Here is take two of this part of the video where my camera app crashed again, but I'm going to continue where I left off. I was leaving off at Tony La Russa Baseball. Um, and I believe the next one would be Tony La Russa Baseball 95. This was made by EA. This is the white variants that they started, as I was discussing earlier. Um, it was like really, really cool. Had the rosters, the teams. Didn't have like stadiums and stuff, but it was like definitely was creating more difficulty levels and stuff. So it was like really, really cool. That was like I said, like EA's baseball games back in the day, especially, were the ones that made me smile because I had so much fun with so many different good people back in the day. Um, and we had so much fun playing these games. Um, we could just go on forever. So this was MLBPA baseball, which is like a really solid title. They do make these games and stuff, starting with MLB baseball, MLBPA baseball. I'm sorry. They did start making them for the Super Nintendo system as well. Tony La Russa Baseball was not available on the Super Nintendo, only on the Genesis, but you could get MLBPA and Forward on the Super Nintendo. Um, so it's like if you had that system, you would be able to get that. Um, I got rid of my Super Nintendo a while ago, not because it's a bad system. I really like the system. It's just that for me as a gamer, little stories here. For me as a gamer, I was always my first like gaming system at home. It's like was an Atari 2600, but my first game system and I actually physically bought was a Sega Genesis. It's like I spent my first money on it. Basically going to my one buddy's house. He invited me to play some Madden, and Yeah, I basically went to the store right after playing with him, and I went and I picked it up, and haven't stopped since. So I think his name was Kevin back then. It was like he got me he got me addicted into this stuff. So if I wanted to blame anybody for all my years of doing this stuff, I blame him. It's not the games that I had at home. I can't blame my parents and all that for that. They were actually quite responsible for the amount of stuff that I had. Here's baseball, probably like the top one of the top games on the NES, and it was an early version and stuff of baseball. But I think this was in the arcade as well. Um, it was just a really solid title and fun. I mean, could you destroy it? Yes, but it was a lot of fun. Little League Baseball, definitely a lot of fun. One of the people's favorites, Baseball Stars 2. Solid baseball titles. Probably one of, since like recollecting games, Bad News Baseball is probably like up there as like one of my favorites. Love that game. Then also there is Baseball Stars 2, 9-1. I mean, I just saw 2 and just continually talked. But Baseball Stars is a really solid title, as is Baseball Simulator 1.000. You want to play a really solid baseball game? This on the Super Nintendo is also a really solid title. Probably slightly more fun on the Super Nintendo, um, which I've been replaying a little bit on the on my Switch, because it's one of those games you can get for free if you have the if you have the internet connection bundle and stuff. You can download and play different Super Nintendo and Nintendo games. RBI Baseball, really solid title, and of course RBI Baseball 2, which is damn. And RBI Baseball 3. Then compared to Super Baseball 2020, we have Base Wars. Um, to me, it felt like a little bit of football mixed in with baseball. So it's not like my favorite kind of thing in the world because it's not true baseball, but it's fun. It's arcadey. It's cool. Then there's Tecmo Baseball. So sometimes I basically make fun of the arcade versions and variants. I'm a true sim guy, so anything arcadey I just generally don't enjoy as much. But I do see the value in it. I see a lot of people having fun, and that's the important thing to me. Here's Bo Jackson Baseball. Yeah, just because I don't like something and I'm not a big fan of it doesn't mean that it's a bad game or it's not cool. It just means that it's not me. It's not for me, and that's okay. And then, of course, there's Roger Clemens MVP Baseball. We saw this on the Sega Genesis. Pretty much the same game. It's just a little bit slimmed down graphics wise on the NES. Now we're going to go through my completes. These are my completes on the NES for baseball. This is Major League Baseball. Yes, that's the name of it, Major League Baseball. And you can see that title right there and everything of the company that made it. That is how you know that it's a really not great game. It's a solid title, but of all the games, I will say that I am not a fan of that game. Games that I am a fan of and basically got me to love the NES were games like this. Spaces Loaded. the amount of hours and time that I spent at friend's house playing Bases Loaded, Bases Loaded second season especially. This was like Bases Loaded was the one that got me hooked into baseball, and I'm actually surprised. I guess basically because I really didn't have the money back then, so I couldn't buy an NES. But Bases Loaded 2 was amazing. It's probably like it's like between Bases Loaded 2 and Bases Loaded 3, like were my favorite on the NES. It's like of baseball games. I really just got deep into it. I loved it so much. And like I said, I told you I already loved Bases Loaded 3. It's so cool. And it's like, and the box is so clean and so good. Um, yeah, just see that artwork. It's just beautiful. So anyway, that is all 170 baseball games that I currently own. Um, I thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you do want to see gameplay of certain games, hit me up. Just message me on YouTube. Let me know. Say, hey, Dave, could you like play like a game or two on here? And I will do that. I have no problem with streaming and playing those games and showing them off. So until next time, this is David B69. I'm out. Have a great day, everybody.